This happened a few years ago when I was 16. It's one of those memories that never really leaves you. It just hides somewhere in the back of your mind, waiting for a quiet moment to crawl back out. My best friend, let's call him M, and I had this tradition. Late evening walks through our town. It wasn't anything special, just a way to clear our heads, talk about stupid things, or complain about school. Our route rarely changed. We always crossed this bridge, an old wide overpass above the train tracks. It wasn't a creepy bridge, by any means. Streetlights lined the edges, a metal railing ran along both sides, and you could see the faint glow of the station a few miles down. We'd crossed that bridge 100 times, but that one night, the bridge felt different. It was late summer, one of those evenings where the air feels heavy but not hot. I remember the hum of the streetlights, the distant chirp of crickets, and the rhythmic click of our sneakers on the pavement. We were halfway across when one of the lights above us started to flicker. Not a subtle flicker, it was a harsh, rhythmic strobe, flashing so violently it threw our shadows in every direction. Then it just went dark. That single light right above us cut out completely. The rest stayed on. We both stopped walking. I looked up, squinting into the blackness where the bulb had just been glowing. "That's creepy as hell," M muttered, forcing a laugh. But his voice didn't sound right too tight. I could feel the tension bleeding through his attempt to sound casual. Then I noticed something strange. The air felt thick, like the temperature dropped just enough to make me notice. I could hear my own heartbeat, slow and loud. There wasn't a breeze. There wasn't even the hum of distant traffic. Everything had gone dead still. And then came the sound. At first I thought it was the wind, but it grew sharper, human. A scream somewhere below the bridge, echoing off the concrete and steel. It was the kind of scream that makes your bones go cold. High-pitched, desperate but warped, like it was being dragged through water or replayed through a broken speaker. It wasn't a woman. It wasn't an animal. It was something trying to sound like both. It lasted maybe 5 seconds, but it stretched into an eternity. When it finally stopped, the silence was unbearable. I remember the way M looked at me, his face pale in the dim light. "Was that?" he started, but he didn't finish. I leaned over the railing and looked down. The train tracks were empty, just silver rails disappearing into darkness. But for a moment, I thought I saw something, a shape standing beside the tracks. It wasn't moving, just there, upright and rigid, too tall to be human. But the moment I blinked, it was gone. We both backed away from the railing, neither of us speaking. I could feel something behind me, not close, but watching. The kind of feeling you get when you know someone's eyes are on you even if you can't see them. We ran. We didn't even say it out loud. We just started sprinting toward the end of the bridge. I could hear M's breathing beside me, ragged and uneven. Halfway across, I swore I heard the metal creak like footsteps behind us, slow, heavy. We didn't stop until we hit the main road. The streetlights there buzzed like normal. Cars passed. The world felt alive again. When we finally stopped, M looked over his shoulder. "There was someone there," he whispered. I wanted to tell him he was wrong, but I couldn't, because deep down, I'd seen it too. The next day I couldn't shake it. It wasn't fear anymore. It was curiosity. The bridge was part of our usual route, and I wanted answers, so I went back, alone. It was late afternoon, sunlight spilling over the metal railing. Everything looked normal, ordinary. I leaned over the edge, staring at the tracks below. Nothing, just the faint smell of oil and rust. Then I noticed something near the embankment, a pile of clothes, tangled near the base of a pillar. It could have been trash. It probably was trash. But I couldn't stop staring. The position seemed too deliberate. When I blinked, I thought I saw something darker just beneath them, a patch of soil that looked disturbed, like it had been dug and hastily covered. That night, I told M. He didn't want to hear it. "Don't go back there," he said. "Whatever we heard, whatever we saw, just forget it. But forgetting wasn't easy, because every night after that, I started hearing it again. Not the scream, but something subtler, a faint hum, almost like the sound of air rushing through a tunnel. It would fade in and out, but only when I was near the bridge. One night, I took my phone and tried to record it. I stood at the edge of the bridge, hit record and waited. The wind was still. The lights hummed softly. And then, a whisper. It wasn't in my head. It came from below. I could barely make it out, but it sounded like someone saying my name. I froze. Then, the light above me flickered, the same one as before. And the scream came again. Closer this time. It cut through the air, louder than before, raw and desperate. But this time I saw something move. A silhouette darted across the tracks below, fast, impossibly fast, and then disappeared behind one of the concrete pillars. That was it. I ran again, but this time I didn't look back. 2 days later, I checked the local paper. There was a small article, buried halfway down the page. Authorities investigating remains found near a train bridge. No foul play suspected. No details. No follow-up story. Just that. I showed it to M. He didn't say anything. Just stared at it for a long time, then folded the paper and threw it away. We never walked that road again. Even now, years later, I sometimes dream about that night. I'm standing on the bridge, the light flickering above me, and I can hear the scream echoing from below. But this time, when I look down, I see 2 figures standing on the tracks. One of them looks like me. The other looks like M. And they're both staring up at me, mouths open, but no sound comes out. This happened about 5 years ago. I used to sleep with my bedroom door open, not because I liked it that way, but because I used to have this stupid childhood fear that someone would come into my room and take me while I was asleep. I guess I figured if the door was open, I could at least scream for my parents before anything happened. By that point, I was old enough to know better, but the habit stuck. The door stayed open, every night, just a sliver. That night was nothing special. No storm, no nightmare, no reason to wake up. But at some point, deep into the night, something made me open my eyes. It wasn't a sound or a movement, I just woke up. Instinct. Like something invisible had brushed past my awareness and told me, look. So I rolled over. My bed faced the hallway, and through that thin crack of open door, I saw him. At first, I thought it was my little brother. Same size, same posture. He was crouched low, squatting in the middle of the hallway floor, just outside my door, facing me. His head tilted slightly to one side. His hands rested between his knees. Just watching, but as my eyes adjusted, I realized what I was looking at wasn't him. The proportions were wrong. His arms were too long, his fingers looked too thin, and his skin wasn't the color of skin at all. It was blue, not pale, not tinted by shadow or moonlight. A soft, muted blue, like bruised porcelain. It caught the dim light that leaked through my window blinds and shimmered faintly, like something underwater. That was the first moment I thought I might be dreaming. Then he blinked. His eyes were enormous, too big for his face, completely black, but glossy. They didn't look dead or hollow. They reflected light, like glass. The reflection wobbled when he moved. He blinked again. Then so slowly I could hear the fabric of my sheets tighten in my grip. He lifted one arm and waved. It wasn't quick or playful, just a slow, deliberate wave. 1, 2, 3, 4 passes, then stillness. I wanted to scream. I should have screamed, but instead, something inside me settled. Like a switch flipped off all my instincts. I felt this heavy calm, almost peaceful, even though my body screamed danger in every way it could. My pulse was fast, but my breathing stayed steady. I didn't feel like I was in control of it. I told myself it was sleep paralysis. It had happened to me once before. I knew what it felt like. But when I tested my body, I realized I could move. I flexed my fingers under the blanket. I blinked. I turned my head slightly on the pillow. I even pinched my arm. I wasn't frozen. I wasn't dreaming. I was awake. And the boy in the hallway, he was still there. He tilted his head the other way now, as if studying me. The wave had stopped, but his hand remained half lifted. His lips parted slightly, but he didn't speak. I thought I heard something. A breath, maybe, or the faintest clicking sound, but it came from the wrong direction. From behind me. I froze. I didn't dare turn around. The air behind me felt heavier, thicker, like someone else was standing near the corner of my bed. Then, all at once, everything went silent. Not quiet, but silent. The kind of silence that eats sound. My heartbeat felt like it echoed inside my skull. And then, nothing. No transition, no fading. 1 second I was staring into those black eyes, and the next, sunlight was pushing through my blinds. I woke up in the exact same position. My blankets hadn't moved. My door was still half open. But something was off. When I stepped out of bed, the air in the hallway was freezing. The rest of the house was warm, but that hallway, just that stretch between my door and the bathroom, felt like a walk-in freezer. I looked around for any sign of what I'd seen. Nothing. No footprints, no marks, no open windows. Everything was still. I convinced myself it was a dream. I had to. But then, I noticed something. The carpet outside my door, the part where I'd seen him squatting, was flattened, like someone had been sitting there for hours. I stared at it for a long time before my brain could even process what I was seeing. I called my brother in from the kitchen and asked if he'd been up last night. He just gave me this confused look and said he'd slept straight through. My parents didn't hear anything either. I shrugged it off, pretended I didn't care, but that night I kept the door closed. For the first time in years, I locked it. I told myself that was the end of it. But about a week later, something strange started happening. Every night around 3 a.m., I'd wake up. No noise, no dream, just awake. And every single time, I'd look toward the door. Even though it was shut, a shadow would pass under the crack at the bottom. Just a flicker of movement, like someone pacing slowly in the hallway. Sometimes the pacing would stop. Then, after a few seconds, a faint tap would come from the other side of the door. Not knocking, tapping, like the sound of fingernails dragging gently along the wood. I'd lie there, eyes wide open, frozen under the blanket. The tapping never lasted long, maybe 15 seconds. Then silence again. I tried sleeping with the door open again once, thinking maybe I just imagined it. But when I woke that night, the tapping wasn't on the door. It was coming from under my bed. After that, I started sleeping in the living room. Eventually, the noises stopped. No more footsteps, no tapping, just peace. But I couldn't shake the feeling that something had changed. 2 months later, we moved. New house, new start. But on my first night in that new bedroom, I woke up around 3 a.m. out of habit. The room was silent, empty, calm. Then I noticed the closet door. It was open just a crack, and from the darkness inside, a faint blue light shimmered, just enough to see the shape of something small, crouched low to the ground. I don't know how long I stared, but I swear, before it vanished completely, I saw it raise one hand, and slowly, silently, it waved.